Okay, so this is going to be a precursor to the previous video that I made, a tale about not seeing a future. If you have not watched the previous video, I would recommend that you do, because the things that I will say in this video will kind of not make sense. And if I sound disrespectful in this video, I'm really, really sorry, okay? I mean no disrespect about the things that I'm going to say in this video. This is simply going to be criticism, my hot take on big YouTubers. Okay, that's the topic of this video. So there's going to be moments in it that will tie back to the previous video that I made, a tale about not seeing a future. I would recommend that you watch that video first and then come back to this one, okay? So the topic of this video is my hot take on big YouTubers. I myself started YouTube in around June of 2023, and I made videos all the way till December of 2023 with no monetization, no money, no ad revenue, nothing, and I made very, very bad content. And then in 2024, when my life stabilized, only then did my content become better. Only then did I start putting actual effort into my videos. My content improved on that point, and now, in May of 2025, I have about 25,000 subs with a little bit over a million views. So technically speaking, I'm a very, very small content creator YouTuber. And in this video, I'm just going to say my hot take on big YouTubers, which in my opinion, with all due respect, involves a bit of luck. So let's go back in time just a bit to let's say 2016 to 2019, okay? This is the date that I'm going to use in this video. From 2016 to 2019. The reason why this time is very, very important, not only to me, but it should be important to everybody, is that I consider this time the golden time of YouTube. Okay, from 2016 to 2019, this was the golden age of YouTube. Back then, YouTube was like, upload whatever you want type platform. Okay, back in those times, I had a completely different life that was completely different from many, many big YouTubers. Back then, I was an immigrant, I had bad English, I was a kid, I didn't have any money, no setup, no nothing, okay? I didn't have anything back then that would allow me to become a YouTuber. I remember those times for very particular reasons. And in those times, there were many big YouTubers back then, okay? And this is a topic that I mentioned in the previous video. My dream back then, 2018 specifically, 2018, this was the specific year that I decided to become a YouTuber. But back then, like I said, I had bad English, I was an immigrant, etc., etc. Rather than extend the subject, I'm just gonna get to the topic, okay? The topic is my hot take on big YouTubers. And my hot take on big YouTubers is that they got lucky. My hot take on big YouTubers, with all due respect. In my opinion, they got extremely lucky with the conditions that they had while making YouTube videos. They got lucky with the times, and they got lucky with the lives that they lived. The YouTubers that I'm going to mention right now, these are YouTubers that have about millions, maybe tens of millions of subs. Some I still watch, some I don't, but the point is they had a lot of luck involved in making YouTube videos. YouTubers like popular MMOs, Dream, the two of them are like Minecraft YouTubers. Minecraft is a video game. YouTubers like Ninja, he's a Fortnite player, Mr. Beast, PewDiePie, FazeRug, YouTubers like EthosLab, another Minecraft YouTuber, Mark Rober, Logan Paul, KSI, Vicstar, the list just goes on. These YouTubers have millions, if not tens of millions of subs. And my hot take on them is that they got lucky. Okay, they got lucky with the times that they lived and the lives that they had. Now, I'm saying this relative to me. Considering their conditions and their lives, if I'm wrong about any of this information, please correct me, because again, I don't want to sound disrespectful with all due respect. This is relative to me. I'm not saying that, these people are bad people. I'm not saying that they're less of a human. What I am saying is that they got lucky with the times that they had. But they did put a lot of effort into their videos. Effort for everybody takes different forms, okay? And the effort that I put is different than the effort that they put. So I'm not saying that they got lucky with the effort. In my opinion, they got lucky with the times that they had from 2016 to 2019, which was the golden age of YouTube. These people, in my opinion, were right people at the right time. Now, here, it's very, very important to make a distinction between what I went through and between what these YouTubers that I listed, what they went through. If I'm wrong about any of this information, please correct me. I do not want to sound disrespectful, okay? I'm sorry if I do. Back in those times, from 2016 to 2019, these people were right people at the right time. My conditions back in those times, specifically in 2018, was the complete opposite. I was the wrong person at the wrong time. I was an immigrant, I was a kid, bad English, no skills, no money, nothing. I was the wrong person at the wrong time. Those people that I listed, they were right people at the right time. And we can even consider the factors that they had. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. The YouTubers that I mentioned previously, assuming that these are true, those people back then, and maybe still are, citizens of their countries, are adults. They no longer live with their parents, and they finish their education, probably. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Considering these factors, right, being an adult, not living with one's parents, finishing the education that you have, this is what made them lucky. This is what made them successful. I did not have any of these conditions that they had back in the golden age of YouTube. I lived a completely different life. I was wrong person at the wrong time. So in essence, my hot take is that these YouTubers got very lucky, not with their effort, but with the times and their lives. These YouTubers put a lot of effort and were successful with their content. But let's just say that their effort was easier to execute back then than it is now, considering that the algorithm was different. The effort that they put in was easier to execute than the effort that you have to do now to become a YouTuber. YouTube was upload whatever you want type platform. My point is that these YouTubers not only had lucky times, but they had stable lives before they became YouTubers. They had stable lives. They were organized. They were responsible even before becoming big YouTubers. If I'm wrong about any of this information, please correct me. This is just my criticism. I hope that these YouTubers had stable lives, which is what made them successful. Only after I stabilized my life did I become successful with my content. The content that I made was from June 2023 all the way to December of 2023, okay? And it was not monetized, there was no money, no ad revenue, nothing. Only after December of 2023 did I become successful with my content because I stabilized my life. In December of 2023, I became an asylee in this country. Prior to that, I was an immigrant in the USA. My family and I became asylees. I became an asylee. I became protected and my life stabilized. Only when I stabilized my life did I become successful with my YouTube content. Let's go to 2025. Okay, for this part, we're in 2025, speaking now. Another hot take that I want to include in this criticism, considering these big YouTubers, after years of succeeding, it's very easy for them to, make easy content nowadays. It's very easy to say, oh, if you want to succeed, just use your phone or just use the camera or just buy a microphone or do this or do that or whatever. It's easy for them to say that because they're already famous enough. These YouTubers are already famous enough and they're going to get millions of views regardless if their content is bad or good. So take, for example, Mr. Beast, okay? Everyone knows who Mr. Beast is. I remember back, I think it was in like 2021 or maybe 2022, he made a video and said something like, oh, I can make a faceless YouTube channel and it's gonna get tens of millions of subs because I'm successful. Yeah, you can do that because you're already famous enough. If I do a channel, faceless channel, which I did, which explains grammatical concepts about languages, I'm not gonna get any of these numbers because I'm not famous enough. I'm not popular enough to do that. Another example is Cristiano Ronaldo. He has the most amount of followers on IG, on Instagram. When he opened his first YouTube channel, he got like 20 million subs overnight because he's already famous enough. He did not do a lot of content on that channel. He had like, I think 3 or 4 videos and he got tens of millions of subs overnight because he's already famous enough. His followers from Instagram went from one platform to the other, and that's how he got a lot of subs. My point is, and my hot take in this video, with all due respect, the effort that they put in their videos is easier to execute, or it was easier to execute back then. It's very, very important to make a distinction between the content of the creators, okay? Because everyone has different content. So the content that I do, for instance, I started doing Spanish videos, just showing the grammatical concepts in Spanish. Then I did the same thing in Russian. Then I did the same thing in English. And now I finished with German. So that's the content that I do, okay? So content is different. The content of the creators is completely different. The content that I do is make grammatical concepts on the languages that I know, making about 3 videos a week. So that's 2 days per video. That's the time that it takes me to make a video. If I keep the schedule for a whole year, there's 365 days in a year, and then if we half that, we get like 180 something. These are the amount of videos that I will do in a year, okay, with the content that I do. That's consistency. But do you know the views that I get on these videos? I barely get, 60 to 70, maybe sometimes 100 views. And if you tally it up, that's 100 videos for 180 videos. That's like almost, I suppose, 100,000 views in a year. That's a lot of effort that goes into my videos. If we take a YouTuber like Mr. Beast can make one video a year and it's going to get not 100,000, it's going to get 100 million views because he's already famous enough. So if I put my effort into my videos personally and I do, one video per 2 days for a whole year, I'm not going to get that many views relative to Mr. Beast. He can make one video and make 100 million views while I can make 100 videos and get 100,000 views. So look at the effort. Okay, with all due respect, this is just criticism. If I sound disrespectful, I'm very, very sorry. Now, another important point that I want to bring in this criticism is the conditions of the YouTubers. With the conditions that I had personally, like being an immigrant, being a kid, bad English, no money, no setup, nothing. Back in, 2016 to 2019, the content was different, the conditions of the YouTubers was different. They were all adults, they were citizens of their countries, and they did not live with their parents, I suppose. Okay, again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. The conditions that I had were completely different, but times have changed now. Okay, some of my conditions are still the same, some have changed. For instance, I have better English. I am, technically speaking, I'm an adult. Okay, I'm 21 years of age. Technically speaking, I'm an adult. But, cognitively, literally, psychologically, I still have the kid mindset. And to be realistic with you, being a grown adult would probably be considered somewhere in your late 20s, maybe 30s. Okay, so late 20s, early 30s, that's where one becomes a full adult. And back then, in 2016 to 2019, they were adults, all these big YouTubers. They were in their late 20s, they did not live with their parents, they finished their education, they had stable lives before becoming YouTubers. But some of my conditions changed. My English became better, I still live with my parents, but I'm consistent with my content that I do. And the point in this criticism is that when you have a stable life, you will succeed in the content that you do, or in anything else that you do. I would consider myself pretty successful with the conditions that I have, okay, with the content that I do. I'm 21 years of age. I'm a university student. I live with my parents, but I have good English. So, the conditions that I have about 25,000 subs and a little over 1 million views. And I accomplished all of that at age 21. I'm 21 years of age and I have 25,000 subs. That's a very, very, very big number to me, and I'm grateful for all of you watching these videos. But nowadays, in 2025, when you have YouTubers who have millions, if not tens of millions of subs, the difference is night and day, okay? Between my tens of thousands of subs and the big YouTubers, they have tens of millions of subs. Considering that their content is completely different and the effort that they put in is completely different. Considering my conditions, I'm a student, I live with my parents, and I'm 21 years of age. I started my channel from just complete scraps, okay? I started my YouTube channel at age 19 when I battled depression after my uncle died, again, which is a point I made in the previous video. I started my channel out of pity. I did not see myself succeeding. While the YouTubers that I mentioned previously, they probably saw themselves succeeding, which is why they started a YouTube channel. When I started my YouTube channel, I completely did not see myself succeeding. And that's because I had a very, very unstable life. For me, opening a YouTube channel back in 2023, it was like a final wish before death, figuratively speaking. I was going through depression, I went through my uncle's death, then my family and I had to go through like an asylum court, we had an individual hearing, and then we became asylees in this country, okay? So I was completely stressed out in 2023 when I did my content, and it was very careless. But nowadays, I'm pretty successful with the content that I have, and I'm very grateful for that. Considering that my channel is dedicated to languages, considering my conditions, and the conditions of the big YouTubers that I previously mentioned, in my opinion, they got lucky, okay? That's my hot take on big YouTubers. I said it, okay? In my opinion, they got lucky. They had better lives, better times, and their content was easier to execute. The effort that they put in was easier to do than it is now, okay? Considering, again, different conditions, different content. A lot of factors have to go in. That's my hot take. These YouTubers got lucky with the times and with the lives that they had. These people were right people at the right time. Back then, from 2016 to 2019, I was the wrong person at the wrong time. Meanwhile, those people were right people at the right time. It is their lives that got them lucky to become YouTubers. These people, I hope, were organized and were responsible before they became YouTubers, thus making their success lucky, in my opinion. If I sound disrespectful, I'm very, very sorry. I mean no disrespect. That's my hot take on big YouTubers. They had everything organized, everything was done perfectly, they had stable lives before becoming YouTubers. My hot take on big YouTubers. If any of you watching this video, you want to prove me wrong, okay, if you want to prove me wrong and say that, oh no, they did not get lucky, they actually put in a lot of effort, okay, go ahead, prove me wrong, okay, I am all ears, I am respectfully listening. If anybody wants to prove me wrong, go ahead, I am listening. However, here's a challenge for you, okay, if you want to prove me wrong and say that my criticism is wrong, here's a challenge for you. Find me a YouTuber, and when I say YouTuber, it means someone who has, let's say, over 100,000 subs. Nowadays, to be verified and to be qualified as a full-time YouTuber, you have to have, at least 100,000. So find me a YouTuber that has the following traits. A YouTuber who is an immigrant, who is a kid, who has bad English, who has no friends in real life, who has no setup, and has no money. Find me a YouTuber who has these traits specifically, and see how lucky and how successful they are. The reason why I'm mentioning these traits specifically is because I had these traits. In 2018, I had all of these traits, and I did not start a YouTube channel because I had a very unstable life. Even if I did, I would not become successful, realistically speaking. So find me a YouTuber who has these traits. So in conclusion, my hot take is that big YouTubers became successful from the lucky lives that they had. They had stable lives before becoming successful big YouTubers. They put effort that was easier to execute. They were right people at the right time. And the moral of the story, in my opinion, is that if you have a stable life and if you control your life, then you will become successful. Then those elements apply. Like I mentioned previously, when these big YouTubers say, oh, all you have to have is a camera, a phone, a computer, and you're good to go. When you have a stable life, when you control your life and you're responsible and organized, then those elements apply. It's very easy to say, just be motivated, just be confident, just use a microphone, use your phone, use whatever. When you have a stable life and you control life, yeah, then those elements apply. When you have a disbalanced life and a very unstable life, then those elements do not apply, okay? Because you have other circumstances, you have different conditions, different factors. Like maybe you want to become a YouTuber, but you're a kid, you're too young to become a YouTuber. Or maybe you have bad English, or maybe you're in school. Once I stabilized my life, only then did I become successful with the content that I do. So when you have a stable life, only then you will become successful. That's the experience that I have. And it even shows with my content. Only after that I become an asylee in this country, I started to put a lot of effort into my YouTube videos, and then I became successful. Once you have a stable life, you will become successful. The same way that those big YouTubers, they had stable lives before becoming YouTubers. So they got lucky. Their lives is what made them lucky, in my opinion. My hot take. And if you want to prove me wrong, go ahead, okay? I'm respectfully listening. I will listen to every comment and I will read every comment. But as a challenge for you, find me a YouTuber who has these traits, who is an immigrant, who is a kid, bad English, no friends, no money, no setup, and see how successful they are, considering that these conditions are very, very tough. For the conclusion, in this video, on the topic of motivation, everyone makes videos on how to become a successful big YouTuber. You can find a lot of YouTube videos that say, oh, how to get 1 million subs or how to get 1 million views, how to become a successful big YouTuber. Everyone makes those videos and everyone watches those videos because everyone wants to become successful. However, what about the small steps? Everyone has to consider the small steps that they have to take to become YouTubers. Considering that, everyone makes videos, especially after they become famous, on how to become a big successful YouTuber. But how come no one makes videos on what being a small YouTuber looks like? How come you very rarely see YouTube videos on how to become a small YouTuber, on how to get tens of thousands of subs as opposed to tens of millions, how to get 100,000 views instead of 100 million views? How come no one ever makes a video on what being a small YouTuber looks like? I'm going to be making a video on this topic, on what being a small YouTuber looks like. This is going to be the topic for the next video. So thank you so much for watching this video, my criticism and my hot take on big YouTubers, with all due respect. Peace.